places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep that frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral right here on the Liberty One Network. It's Friday, and that means it's Red Friday, because we wear our red shirt every Friday night to remember everyone deployed. R-E-D, remember everyone deployed. So when you get dressed on Friday mornings, it's a simple matter to just put on a red shirt to honor our brave warriors that are in foreign lands in harm's way. So you guys know my co-host Orion, right? Orion's my little buddy. Yeah. And say hi to the world, buddy. He's such a cool cat. He loves his daddy. So, yeah, the last 24 hours, last 36 hours actually, have been historic, to say the least. I've been a news hound since I was 14 years old, and I'm not a young man anymore. I've never seen anything like what's going on over the last week. It's really astounding. And, normally on Red Friday, I wear my Marine Corps t-shirt. But today, I thought I'd share a message with you by wearing a different red t-shirt. You ready? Here we go. You ain't about this life. Don't worry about all the craziness that's going on. Everything that's happening is happening for a reason. And we're going to be okay. Because I have read to the end of the book. And folks, we win. We win big. You know, I've never considered myself to be a Republican or a Democrat. I consider, well, I actually did a long time ago. But I for a long time now, I've considered myself to be a monarchist. Serving our coming king. And he has things well in hand, trust me. And at the end of the book, we win, and we win big. So it's fun, though, to watch the craziness that's going on around us. And I'm going to share some of the best parts of the last 36 hours with you in this episode of The Truth is Viral. So why don't we start off with the most awesome thing I've seen since Colonel Ralph Peterson called Barack Obama a giant pussy. Lindsey Graham found his spine. I don't know where he was hiding it. It might have been in John McCain's pocket. But he found his spine, and he let the Democrats that were running this crap show know exactly what he felt. Check this out. This is awesome.
Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process, you came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job
You
interview.
consider that you've been through a job interview.
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
Would you say you've been through hell?
I've been through hell and then some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell. This is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. The one thing I can tell you, you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this. That you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade.
Well, that was really something, wasn't it? I never thought that I would see Lindsey Graham come up with the testicular fortitude. I thought that he'd been neutered by John McCain long ago. That was really inspiring to see, though. And something I'm going to watch over and over again whenever I need a little pick-me-up. Now, let's go to Christine Blasey Ford and talk about her for a minute. The testimony that she gave, I don't know how to say it. I just didn't believe the woman. There were so many questions that I would have asked that veteran sex crimes prosecutor Rachel Mitchell didn't ask. Like, how did she get from the country club to the house where this alleged assault took place? And when she fled from the house, how did she get home? Who picked her up? She was 15 years old, didn't have a driver's license. So how did she end up in this house where she still doesn't know where it exactly was? Somewhere in the middle of Maryland, very far away from her home. I would have liked to know the answers to those questions. But Rachel Mitchell, who is a Maricopa County sex crimes prosecutor, questioned Ford for quite a while. And one of the exchanges was really great. It had to do with her fear of flying. Seems that Ms. Ford only is afraid of flying when she has to come testify before the Senate. Check this out.
May I ask, Dr. Ford, how did you get to Washington?
In an airplane.
Okay. I asked that because it's been reported by the press that you would not submit to an interview with the committee because of your fear of flying. Is that true?
Well, I was hoping that they would come to me, but then realized that was an unrealistic request.
It would have been a quicker trip for me.
Yes. So that was certainly what I was hoping, was to avoid having to get on an airplane, but I eventually was able to get up the gumption with the help of some friends and get on the plane.
When you were here in the mid-Atlantic area back in August, end of July, August, how did you get here?
Also by airplane. I come here once a year during the summer to visit my family.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not here. I go to Delaware.
Okay. In fact, you fly fairly frequently for your hobbies, and you've had to fly for your work. Is that true?
Correct, unfortunately.
You were a consulting biostatistician in Sydney, Australia. Is that right?
I've never been to Australia, but the company that I worked for is based in Australia, and they have an office in San Francisco, California.
Okay.
I don't think I'll make it to Australia.
It is long. I also saw on your CV that you list the following interests of surf travel, and you, in parentheses, put Hawaii, Costa Rica, South Pacific Islands, and French Polynesia. Have you been all to those places?
Correct.
By airplane?
Yes.
And your interests also include oceanography, Hawaiian and Tahitian culture. Did you travel by air as a part of those interests?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Easier for me to travel going that direction when it's a vacation.
Yeah, there were a lot of other inconsistencies with her testimony, but I'm not going to go all through it. I spent 9 hours in this chair last night and yesterday afternoon and yesterday morning doing just that. But I just want to hit the highlights tonight. And what we want to talk about now is what happened this morning. And folks, I'm here to tell you, it was not a pretty scene. Because the Senate voted 11-10 to put forward the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Senate floor so that all 100 senators could vote on it, but only after a 1-week delay. Thank you, Jeff Flake, Senator from Arizona. Earlier in the day, actually last night, Jeff Flake had said that he was going to support Kavanaugh's nomination. He was going to be a yes vote. And Senators Lisa Murkowski and Senator Collins were going to go along with him. Okay? Those are the two Republican senators that were kind of on the fence. And then this morning, he was accosted by a bunch of protesters in the Senate office building. And as he listened to them, he stopped and listened to them, you could see he was visibly shaken. And I would like to take you to that moment right now.
Why did you vote yes? I understand that you said just
on
last night
Monday, I stood in front of your office. On Monday, I stood in front of your office with Addie Barkan. I told the story of my sexual assault. I told it because I recognized in Dr. Ford's story that she's telling the truth. What you are doing is allowing someone who actually violated a woman to sit in the Supreme Court. This is not tolerable. You have children in your family. Think about them. I have 2 children. I cannot imagine that for the next 50 years, they will have to have someone in the Supreme Court who has been accused of violating a young girl. What are you doing, sir?
I was sexually assaulted and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter, that they should just stay quiet, because if they tell you what happened to them, you're going to ignore them. That's what happened to me, and that's what you're telling all women in America, that they don't matter, they should just keep it to themselves, because if they have told the truth, you're just gonna help that man to power anyway. That's what you're telling all of these women. That's what you're telling me right now. Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter, that what happened to me doesn't matter, and that you're gonna let people who do these things into power. That's what you're telling me when you vote for him. Don't look away from me. Look at me and tell me that it doesn't matter what happened to me. That you'll let people like that go into the highest court of the land and tell everyone what they can do to their bodies.
You have an answer, Senator?
Respond, Senator. Senator Flake, do you think that Brett Kavanaugh is telling the truth? Thank you. Do you think that he's able to hold the pain of this country and repair it? That is the work of justice. The way that justice works is you recognize harm, you take responsibility for it, and then you begin to repair it. You're allowing someone who is unwilling to take responsibility for his own actions, unwilling to hold the harm that he has done to one woman, actually 3 women, and repair it.
Had I been Senator Flake, I would have been shaken too. Those women were obviously hurt. They were obviously very emotional. And they feel deeply that Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court would be a bad thing for all women. But they're ignoring the facts. They're allowing their emotions to rule them. And this is a common thing among Democrats. They don't care about facts, folks. They rule from emotion. And we can't have that. And do you know why? Because when men are falsely accused, as many have been, of sexual assault or rape, it can not only ruin their lives, they can end up dead. Just ask Emmett Till, who was credibly accused of making advances towards a white woman. That's why many black men in the first part of the last century were hung from trees, because they looked at a white woman the wrong way, or because they were falsely accused of doing something untoward. This is a country that's ruled by law, not by emotion, and you can only make laws based on facts. And that's something that Senator Kamala Harris doesn't seem to understand. When she stormed out of the Senate chamber this morning, she went to find the first microphone she could, and the first words out of her mouth totally mischaracterized the type of country that we live in. The ignorance of this woman is astounding. You've got to watch this.
But let's be clear about something. This is part of the point about them ramming it down. You know, we have a democracy. There should not be tyranny of the majority. We have a democracy. And there has not been a fair process in place from the beginning on this. It should not be about raw power influencing the outcome of a decision that is about not only a statement about what we hold as being precious and important about our system of justice, but who will sit for a lifetime on the United States Supreme Court.
Okay, Senator Harris, allow me to take you to school. The United States is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. In a democracy, it's mob rule. That is literally the meaning of the word democracy. Rule of the people, where 51% can tell the other 49% what to do. So she just really embarrassed herself in front of, and she does this all the time. People throw around the word democracy and don't even know what it means. But thank God that it's not a democracy and it is a constitutional republic. Otherwise, we might end up with a President Hillary Clinton, and that would have been a real nightmare. That's why the Electoral College exists, so that large population areas like Los Angeles and New York can't decide the fate of the entire country. But eventually Jeff Flake decided that it might be a good idea to wait a week and let the FBI do its thing. So he changed his vote. He talked to Senator Grassley in the chambers, and after a confab in the anteroom off the Senate chamber with Democrats, where I'm sure they bullied him quite a bit more, Jeff Flake insisted that he would vote yes to put the nomination on the floor of the Senate, but once it got there, then he would not vote yes to confirm Judge Kavanaugh unless there had been an FBI investigation in limited time and scope, limited to 1 week and limited to the 3 women that have accused Kavanaugh of these horrific crimes. And they just defy logic. And there hasn't been any evidence brought forward on any of these charges. None whatsoever. Even the witnesses that Christine Blasey Ford, sorry about that, brought forward deny that it had ever happened. So I don't know what we're going to do, but this is Senator Flake changing his mind, and well, here it is.
I have been speaking with a number of people on the other side. We've had conversations ongoing for a while with regard to making sure that we do due diligence here. And I think it would be proper to delay the floor vote for up to, but not more than 1 week, in order to let the FBI continue to do an investigation limited in time and scope to the current allegations that are there, and limited in time to no more than 1 week. And I will vote to advance the bill to the floor with that understanding.
So yeah, he flaked out, and without his vote and the votes of Senator Collins and Murkowski, there is no chance that Judge Kavanaugh will sit on the Supreme Court. And we're just going to have to watch this process play out over the next week. And in 60 seconds, I'm going to be back, and we're going to talk some more about this. Don't you dare go anywhere.
I'm Pete Santilli, and you're watching The Truth is Viral.
Do not click away. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
So, yeah. It's crap show. But you know what? We can withstand it. We can wait a week. You know what? If I had been Jeff Flake, I believe I would have said, okay, we'll delay the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh for a week so the FBI can do their thing, as long as we also open up an investigation into Senator Dianne Feinstein. Find out how Christine Ford letter, the confidential letter, she says she wanted to remain anonymous, find out how that got leaked to the press. I'd like to see Dianne Feinstein in front of a Senate Ethics Committee, don't you think? That would be a good idea. You know, this morning, in the Senate chambers, as they were getting ready to take the vote, Senator Feinstein tried to defend herself. She said that it wasn't her office that was responsible for the leak. She tried to throw the representative, the congressional representative that Christine Blasey Ford had initially contacted, under the bus. And that's what they did with Christine Ford. They threw her under the bus, too. They used that woman. I have no doubt that something terrible happened to her at some point, in some place, at some time. But I also have no doubt that she has conflated her memories of that incident with memories of Brett Kavanaugh. I don't think he did it. Yeah, I know that he wasn't messing around with those other two broads. Gang rape? Sorry, I'm not buying it. Julie Swetnick is a joke. And so was her lawyer, the creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti. What a joke. I wanted to address a comment that here in the Liberty One chat room. Somebody asked how these nut jobs can get so close to a United States Senator after the shooting last year. Well, having been to Washington, D.C. and been in the Senate office buildings and in the House of Representatives various buildings, I can tell you that they have tremendous security. You go, it's like going on a plane, TSA. You got to take off your shoes, you got to take off your belt, and go through a metal detector, the whole 9 yards. So it's relatively safe. And I think that's a good idea, that people get to confront their representatives. Because I did that with Congressman Dan Benishek. At least I tried. He ran into the back of his office and hid from me. But I think it's important that ordinary American citizens are able to get close to their elected representatives, so they can tell them how they feel, whether they're right or wrong, whether you're right or wrong. It's important that they represent us. That's what we elected them to do. And I was tired of getting form letters. I was tired of not getting my phone calls returned. So I went to Washington, D.C., and I tried to confront Congressman Dan Benishek over his support of the National Defense Authorization Act, which is still in effect, my friends, and it allows the United States military to arrest any citizen without a charge, hold them indefinitely without a trial or access to a lawyer, and even transfer them to CIA-run prisons overseas where they would undoubtedly be tortured. And that's wrong. And here in the state of Michigan and in 23 other states, those sections of the National Defense Authorization Act were nullified by the state government, making, and here in Michigan, it's a crime for any employee of the state of Michigan or any employee of any subdivision of the state of Michigan to cooperate with the federal government in the black bag kidnappings of a Michigan citizen. So I went to Washington, D.C., and I wanted to ask Congressman Dan Benishek why he continued to vote for that, even though that National Defense Authorization Act had been nullified here in Michigan, and he hid from me. But you know what was beautiful? 3 weeks later, after I promised his aide that I would be at every whistle stop, every truck stop, every restaurant, every place that he was going to visit in his announced run for a third term in office, something that he had promised he wasn't going to do. I told him I'd be a real pain in his ass. And 3 weeks after my visit to Washington, D.C., he abruptly resigned. So yeah, I'm going to take credit for that. I had a good time. And we're going to look at some other stuff on this Red Friday. Remember, everybody deployed. And one thing I want to show you is a really it's inspirational. It really is. There's a young woman that I follow on Twitter, and her name is Magdalena Rose. She's a beautiful young lady. And she's smart, too. Wait till you see what she's got to say about this this mess that we're in. She says it's time to go to war for Judge Brett Kavanaugh. This is great. You're going to like this. Sorry, my mouse hand is still incapacitated. So let's get this over here. Yeah, bring her up.
So for the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to not make a video about this Kavanaugh crap because I thought eventually it would go away. You know, it's going to equal out. But now Dr. Ford's attorneys, yes, the same attorneys who Dianne Feinstein told her to hire, are demanding that in this FBI investigation there be no time constraints and no allegations restraints, which means any ridiculous allegation from anyone can be investigated as if it's credible, as if there's any corroborating evidence. Let's be really clear. Everyone knows this is ridiculous. Everyone knows that Dianne Feinstein sat on that letter and dropped it at the last point to try to stop these hearings and throw everything in chaos and stall it until there was a break or until midterms or whatever. Everyone knows that. And yet Jeff Flake, who is not running for re-election, who has literally nothing to lose, or I'm sure except his principles, has decided he's going to now curtail this nomination, the nomination of the single most qualified person to ever sit on the Supreme Court, and the nomination of somebody who, by the conservative Republican standards, is quite moderate, although I doubt if this man gets confirmed he will be moderate anymore. He's trying to stop this nomination by saying, we need an FBI investigation. Let's just be honest. No, we don't. We know that whether or not she had this experience with someone else or she's an operative or whatever, there's no evidence. And we're also really clear that the only evidence provided was provided by Judge Kavanaugh in his calendars, which all the leftists are making fun of, and they're also making fun of the fact that he didn't have a lot of relationships. Do you know why they're making fun of that? Because they can't fathom that someone was living a good life and their primary motivation was not debauchery. They can't fathom this because the Democratic Party increasingly, just look at Anderson Cooper interviews, is the party of odd sex questions. If the Democrats succeed in curtailing this nomination, in defeating this nominee, two things will happen, or one of two things will happen. Every Republican in this country will be defeated and give up, or we will have a crop of candidates in 2020, in midterms, and everything that make the Tea Party look gentle. You think the Freedom Caucus is bad? Imagine 100 of those. Imagine hundreds of those people in Congress. It will never stop, and we will have Amy Coney Barrett on the bench.
She's right. She's 100% right. That's why I follow her. She's very smart. If you are on Twitter, you need to find Magdalena Rose and follow that young lady. And that's the danger that we face over the next week, is that Michael Avenatti will pull another whore out of his ass. But it's the price of living in this wonderful republic, folks. Still, the Senate has promised that the investigation won't take more than a week. And while that will extend the vote past the traditional October 1st sitting of the Supreme Court, where they take their annual picture, I guess Brett Kavanaugh is not going to be in the yearbook for the Supreme Court this year. But I have no doubt that he'll be confirmed, because the allegations against him are just out of this world. There's no basis in fact, and not even the FBI can screw this up. They really can't. They've already investigated the man 6 times. I mean, come on. They're not going to find any victims. And there would be dozens of victims and participants in these gang rapes, and they're not going to find any because it never happened. So we don't have to worry about that. But this young lady is absolutely right. We're going to war. It's an ideological war at the moment, but it's a war nevertheless. It's a Cold War. And I don't know about you, but me and every other person that's ever been under arms dreads it. Nobody hates war more than a person that's in the military. And if the Dildo and Bong Brigade wants to bring a war to our steps, on our shores, where battles would be fought on our streets, in our neighborhoods, among our houses, so that our children would see of it, as Mel Gibson's character in The Patriot would say, they're going to be walking into a bloodbath. There are 100 million veterans in this country. And got 400 million guns, 8 trillion rounds of ammunition. And those guys can't figure out which bathroom to use. So yeah, it would be a bloodbath, and join me in prayer that it never happens. I don't know about you, but if I go to my grave never having harmed another human being, I will be one happy camper. But we are going to war. And I promised you I'd play this for you the other night. The other night. And this is a little video called The Gospel by Eric Ludy. And the important quote to remember here is the one that I've got pinned to my Twitter account. As we stand, and the wolf pack surrounds us, we stand in the name and in the authority of Jesus Christ, and we will not back down. Because we don't head off to war to lose. We head off to war to win. Our God mocks all the powers of earth and hell. You're going to enjoy this.
I am going to introduce you to the gospel right now. You are a rebel. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, I'll tell you straight up. You are a rebel against the living God. This is your natural disposition. Why? Because you are born in sin. We are in a prison cell. And it takes the awakening and the grace of God, you can call it the prevenient grace of God, to awaken us to the fact that we are lost and we can't get out. We're headed towards destruction fast. The enemy, because of our rebellion against God, has legal rights to harm and harass our life. There you are behind the prison cell. Help, I need out! You can't get out. Those prison bars are stronger than any adamant. There is no way you can cut them because they're stronger than diamond. It is impenetrable. You cannot escape. You're doomed, because when the enemy comes in the very end, and he's going to finish you off because he has legal right to do it, and he's going to relish every minute of it. In strolls your intercessor, your mighty man, and he stands between you and that accuser, and he takes the hit that was rightfully yours. He takes the blow that was intended for you. That is an extraordinary reality, that he was turned to a pulp and he actually died. God died for you. Over your prison cell, it has always said condemned, separated eternally from God, guilty. And then suddenly it switches. When you realize what Jesus Christ has done, it says justified. It says forgiven, redeemed. Here's the problem. Most of us have stopped with the good news right there. The blood of Jesus Christ has been shed and he was killed. Now, I want you to know that is unbelievable news. But we are still in a prison cell. And so we're praising God from within a prison cell, going, thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for changing the sign on the outside of the prison. And God's word says, could you check the door to the prison cell? Because my blood was shed for more than just forgiveness. Forgiveness was the avenue through which he could make the escape for us. He isn't just interested in dealing with the consequences or the penalty of sin. He's also dealt with the problem of sin. That's the door. It's unlocked. The door to the prison cell is unlocked. Walk out. Smell the open air of freedom and liberty in the light of Jesus Christ. When you get outside the prison cell, there's like this chariot that's waiting. Emissaries from the king, and they say the king beckons you into his presence. You know how bizarre this is when you realize that you were a rebel? That you were undeserving completely. The living God has literally given up his life for you, and now he has set you free, and now the very king is beckoning you into his presence. It's like, are you sure you have the right guy here? I'm a rebel. I stood against my God. I spat in his face. How could he want me? The king beckons you. You get in the chariot. And as you're pulling into the kingdom, you're looking for where they might drop you off. You're looking for that poor district. Saying, where are you taking me? Well, into the very near presence of the king. He wants you to live right where he lives. Not just the penalty, not just the problem, but an invitation into his very near presence. But as you're coming in, the emissaries say, he wants to adopt you as his child. Me? His child? We are brought in and invited near to share his heart. You come into his presence, totally broken before the reality of what he has done for you. I don't deserve this. Why have you done this for me? I love you. I have a commission for you. For me? You want to have me work for you? I want you to work for me. I want you to represent me. Absolutely. Anything I can do for you, just tell me. I need you to go back to that prison cell that I took you out of, because there's a whole bunch more that need to know about me and my love and my truth. Will you go for me? In a heartbeat. I would gladly serve you. Any way you want, any way you ask. I need to forewarn you. I'm going to send you out, and you'll be as a sheep among wolves. They'll kill you. They'll destroy you. They'll hate you. They'll persecute you. They will do whatever they can to harm you. I'm in. I'll do it, God. I don't care. You shed your blood for me. I would gladly shed my blood for you. Take my body, take my blood, spend it any way you want. I belong to you in covenant. Take me, Lord Jesus. Send me. The commission, not just the penalty, not just the problem, not just the invitation into his very near presence, not just the adoption as a son and a daughter of the King of Kings, but we are commissioned to represent him. And I want you to realize that is a privilege beyond all other privileges, to bear the very name, the very image, the very reputation of God Almighty. And he says, I ask you to go. Go and make disciples of all men. Go and be unashamed of my gospel and preach it. Go, rescue the lost in the power of my name. For is not the lamb that was slain worthy to receive the reward of his suffering. I'll go. And as you're beginning to head out with his blessing, he says, hold it. Wait, there's one more thing. Not just the penalty, not just the problem, not just the invitation to his very near presence, not just the adoption as the son or a daughter of the king, and not just the commission. This is the capstone. If you think that is all good, you could wrap that all up into one ball and it still falls short of the final one. Because this final one is so condescending on the part of our king. It is so bewildering. It is so extraordinary, so amazing. And this is the truth that turns the world upside down. Before you go, what I'm sending you out to do is impossible. I know. Impossible. And if you do it in your own strength, you'll fail. I don't care. I'm willing to do whatever you ask of me. And if you want me to go in there and just die, I'm willing. I'm sending you out to be a victor. My children will not lose. Would you give me your body? And I will come in and make it my home. and I will take those hands of yours and make them my hands. I will take those feet of yours and make them my feet. I will take that mouth of yours and it will speak my words. I will take those eyes of yours and they can now see what I need you to be seen in this world. And I will take your heart of stone and make it a heart of flesh so that it will beat with my burdens and you will care for the very things that I care about. And your prayers will become my prayers, and your life and your attitude and your behavior every minute of every day will be the very behavior of God. Will you allow me to overtake your life? Because then we go into this world as little lambs with the faces of lions. Because the living God Almighty, the consuming, almighty, sovereign God dwells within his children. And as we stand and the wolf pack surrounds us, we stand in the authority in the name of Jesus, and we will not back down. Because we do not head off to war to lose. We head off to war to win. Our God mocks all the powers of earth and hell through fluffy little lambs. Because his lambs beat the wolf packs. That's the gospel. The gospel trounces upon all the powers of earth and hell and demonstrates to the universe the manifold wisdom of God, that he is in control. And even though we look weak, and even though physically and naturally we are weak, spiritually greater is he that is in us than he that is in this world. That is good news. And it is a lot better than what's being dealt out today in the church. We need to rise up, proclaim the gospel, and say, I'm unashamed of it. Dear Lord Jesus, take what is rightfully yours. Don't just send us with yourself firmly planted within our souls. We cannot do your work. We cannot bring you glory, even though we're willing to do it without you. Please, if you want to come with us, why in the world would we ever try on our own? You don't have to go on your own. You don't have to pull off the impossible on your own. You don't have to fail any longer. Your God is ready to do it in and through you. You can't do it. You can't muster up the discipline. You can't muster up the intellect. You can't muster up the strength. You can't muster up the perseverance and the fortitude. He can. You can't love the lost. You can't love those that spit upon your face. He can. Don't pray that God would teach you how to love like he loves. Pray that he would fill you with himself and he would love in and through you. Don't pray that he would teach you to have joy. Pray that the living God full of joy would enter into you. Don't pray that he would teach you how to be peaceful. Ask for the God of peace, the Prince of Peace, to infill you. Because if you try and imitate in your own strength, you will be a miserable replica. But if you allow the impartation of Jesus Christ to overtake you, suddenly it all works. Because it's him imitating himself. And he's very good at being God.
I'll tell you, folks, honestly, I must have watched that 100 times. Every time I need a spiritual boost, I watch that video. And we really need to remember that we go forth as soldiers of Christ. And it's not our job to talk badly about people. It's not our job to hurt them. It's our job to bring them to salvation that's freely available. And I need you to like, comment, and share all of our videos here on the Liberty One Network. And join us over on Spreely.com, where you can speak freely. In the last couple of weeks, tens of millions of patriots have been cut off on Facebook. A group I used to belong to because it's been deleted, called We Support Donald Trump, had 2.7 million conservatives as members of that group, and Facebook deleted it as part of their anti-Russian bot campaign. Well, I'm not a Russian bot. When I was a little baby Marine, we were taught to hate the Russians. Take a spoon and gut them. But, oh well, it is what it is. Make sure that you join us on Spreely.com. That's where you can get the best feeds. Facebook can't screw with us or screw with you. And we will persevere. We will improvise. We will adapt. And we will overcome. And don't forget, you ain't about this life. Don't worry about what's going on around us. Take hope. Have faith that our King is on his way. And I guess that's it. Jermaine Bozzio is coming up next right here on the Liberty One Network. He's a really funny guy. He's got the most stupid stuff on the internet on his show. So make sure you turn into his show and grab some popcorn and enjoy yourself. It's a really good time. So I'll see you next Monday night. Until then, my name is Bob Powell. And as always, God bless, Semper Fi, and Hoorah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.